Hey guys, so I know a lot of you have been waiting for an update on the Bentgrass seeding project we did back here in the corner. It's been about 8 weeks ago since I did all that. It's just been a really hot year here. It's been over 100 degrees all through the month of July, and now we're in nearly the middle of August. And so I've had to kind of back off on the fertilizer and back off on the watering. I just didn't want to develop any disease or cause any issues with this new grow-in. So that's why it's been a little while since I've updated you guys. We've just been kind of taking it easy to allow it to grow in. So today I want to show you guys, where we're at on this project. I want to take this fence off. We'll give it a mow. And so something I didn't do in the last video is I didn't really give you guys a good perspective about where the trees are and kind of how the backyard's laid out. And so I want to do that to kind of help you guys understand what's going on here. So you can see how big these trees are. And I seeded all the bentgrass over here in the corner where this fence is. And so that area actually gets sunlight early in the morning and late in the evening. It gets some west sunlight that comes in here. So throughout the day it gets 4 to 5 hours of really good sunlight. So it's not completely covered in shade, and that's why I went ahead and seeded it there. I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking, what an idiot, who's going to plant bentgrass there in the shade? Watch me, because it works. It grows there, it works just fine. The only reason why I had to redo it in the first place is just that's an area that the dogs dig a lot. They just tear it up over the years, and so that's why we went ahead and reseeded it. So just want to give you guys a perspective of where we're at and show you that it does get some sunlight throughout the day. Right now it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's kind of a shady time, but it's also kind of the hottest part of the day. And that's why I've been able to grow that during the middle of July when temperatures have been over 100 degrees. It's not near that hot there in that corner because of the shaded area. I've been able to keep it cool and wet, and that's how everything's germinated for me.
Squeeze.
There you go. Squeeze.
Look how those.
Yep.
Squeeze. Take this one off.
You come cut this one?
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do this one.
Squeeze.
Squeeze. Got it. Yeah, I got it, honey.
Yep. So you can see it's pretty thick through here. I've got some bare spots. I've got some areas where the seed didn't take all that well. You can see where it washed out around the sprinkler head. And this back here is from turning my true cut around when I was mowing it. The wheels kind of put some damage there in the middle, but this is a typical result of what you're going to see. Had I been able to keep fertilizing it as heavy as I was recommending to you guys, the results would be a little thicker. But because I had to back off here in the summertime, you can see it's a little thin here and there. But that's typical. You just got to keep either seeding it or putting more fertilizer on it, keep mowing it, and it'll start to spread out and everything will start to come in pretty nice. So like I showed you here, in some of these areas where it's kind of thin, where the bentgrass didn't take. And so the reason for that is bentgrass seed is extremely small. And so the thing about bentgrass seed is you usually apply that about a pound of seed per 1,000 square feet. And this stuff is so small that 3/4 of this bin here is about a pound of seed per 1,000 square feet. And that stuff is so small that when you put it in here and you start to spread this out and fling it out, the breeze and the wind will kind of, make it flurry around, and it doesn't land real accurately on the ground. And so with bentgrass seed, it's really hard to get it to spread accurately. And in fact, for these smaller areas, if you really want to get more accurate, like what I do here on the putting green, is take some kind of container and punch a bunch of holes in it and spread your seed out and just shake it around like that. And I know it takes a lot more time, but your results will be significantly better because the seed is dropped more accurately right where you want it. Because even if you put this stuff in a drop spreader and say put it on a really low setting, the stuff still it falls out so fast that you're actually losing a lot of it. You're putting down too much and almost kind of wasting it. So it's hard to do in a drop spreader. On larger properties like that, you can mix your seed in with some fertilizer and kind of apply it all at the same time to give it some more, to just kind of hold it all together, let it drop more evenly. But for doing these little projects, really the best thing to do is just use a little jar like that with some holes punched in it. And that's what I've used on the putting green many times, because I've applied seed over and over throughout the years with this, and it does okay, but my results are certainly a lot better with using a jar like that. And so that's why I got some of these bare areas, the seed was flinging out everywhere. And that's how I did this application here in the backyard years ago, is I just flung it out, and I found it took a long time for me to get everything to grow in. I have a lot of bare areas like that just naturally happen from the breeze blowing, the water, you know, flowing on the ground the way it does, and just things like that. It just takes a little bit more time. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and give this a mow and try to get the height down a little bit where it'll start to match the rest of the backyard. So hopefully here in about a week we can start using the Toro Greensmaster again to match the height of the rest of the backyard, and everything will start to thicken up and mature and start to spread, you know, like we expected. And so I'm excited to finally have that fence off. I can get back to mowing the yard like normal, and I think all this is going to turn out pretty good. Alright, so whenever you're mowing with a reel, it's going to push the leaf blades over when you're mowing like this. So you can see all this is kind of pushed over. It's not just a real even, clean cut, but don't get stressed out over that. When it's new grass like this, it's real thin, and it's just sometimes hard for it to stand up and get mowed evenly. But over time, it starts to thicken up and stand up a little taller, and everything starts to get cut like normal. So when you're starting out, don't mow it and mow it some more to just try to get it all cut down. I know it's kind of maybe a little annoying that that's being laid over like that, but it's really okay. It's when you got baby grass like this, it just takes a little while to get used to get mowed and just kind of getting in the routine of things. Because I haven't been mowing this every couple of days. This has been getting mowed maybe once a week, and I've just been kind of taking my time with it. And so it's going to be long, and it's going to get pushed over like this, and it's just going to take a little bit of time to get it back to normal. So it's actually pretty tall. It's been a while since I've mowed it, so I'm actually going to lower the height of the cut again and just give it a mow again and try to clean it up a little bit more. And like I said, I'm not going to stress it out. Just want to kind of get it cut down a little bit and get it used to being mowed frequently and low again, and then everything will start to thicken up. Let me show you something that I really dislike about this True Cut, and that is it has this chevron pattern tires, so you can really see the ruts it's made here on the moist soil. It's really trenched and made a lot of impressions here on the soil from mowing with that and turning it around back here. You see that area back here where it has kind of, you know, kind of damaged it a little bit, and so that's still something I've got to work on. Is I'm gonna have to come in here with a roller and use the Toro and just kind of continue to mow over this and get that surface kind of spread out and evened out again. And so plan moving forward is we'll do some light top dressing a little later whenever the leaf blades aren't quite as long and they start to stand up a little bit more, and we'll continue doing our starter fertilizer with doing some light spoon feedings of it, and we'll do that here today. Just give it a light spoon feeding since we mowed quite a bit of leaf blade off, just to kind of help it recover from that. I don't expect it to do any damage because I know it seemed like you saw a lot of material flying off in that video, but really there's so much leaf blade still just laying over that it's not going to damage anything. When it's new like this, you've got to really screw it up to tear it up, and you know, if you do that, then you've got to really start over. But new grass is really forgiving, and especially bent grass, it's intended to be mowed low, so it's okay with being cut quite a bit at a time. So anyway, let's go get some starter fertilizer, do a nice little spoon feeding here, and that'll about wrap this little job up. So I'm going to try helping out these berries a little bit and spread some seed along with that starter fertilizer, and it should really make a big difference. And one last tip I'd give you is anytime you're planting new grass like this, if you've got any leaves that keep falling out of your trees, make sure you keep them cleaned up, because that stuff will choke out anything that you're trying to grow here. The same's true in the fall. If you leave that stuff to sit, all through the fall and winter time, when you get back to it in spring, all your grass will be matted over and dead or really damaged because you left that sitting there. So don't leave leaves laying on your turf. Get them cleaned up, blow them off, rake them up, whatever. Just don't leave them laying on there, otherwise it's going to create disease and just choke out your new seed. So another thing is, when you're doing fertilizer, make sure you don't have clumps sitting on top of your grass. It will burn it, so make sure you break those up before you throw it out there. I know you really shouldn't be touching fertilizer, but there's just something about using your hands and getting a feel for what you're doing out here that you're just able to apply things a little better. Well guys, I think that's going to wrap up this little project. I know it hasn't been the most ideal spot being in the shade here and just being a real small piece of property, but hopefully you learned something along the way and got to see kind of the big picture of what it would be like to prep the soil from start to finish, and really just to have some success on your next seeding project. And if you guys have any questions, reach out to me, shoot me a comment, contact me, whatever you want to do. I'd love to help you out on anything you're trying to tackle here in the fall. I know a lot of you guys are probably starting to think about doing some seeding projects and things coming up, and I am too. I'm actually thinking about doing some ryegrass here in the back, but I'm definitely going to do the ryegrass overseed on the Bermuda up front here coming in the fall. So starting to get my game plan ready for that, so there'll be more content coming forward with that. But hopefully this will really help you guys out, and if you guys haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next one.